Today we will be presenting to you our original culture of Xi'an. Today you will be seeing myself presenting the psychological side, Deanicia presenting the descriptive, Sonya presenting the normative, and Marlene presenting the structural. But first, a little backstory on Xi'an as a nation. Xi'an is a South Asian country. As a collective, we all speak the language of Cantonese. Also, our government structure is a communist state, meaning that they have adopted the doctrines such as China, Russia, and North Korea in our own culture. We also had, pre-COVID, a flourishing economy, and as will be mentioned later on, our nation was hit by COVID-19 in 2020, which lasted for 5 years, after which a vaccine was developed and issued throughout the nation. However, this yielded many casualties, such as a high suicide rate. Also, there is high job losses and the still overbearing need of the communist government. We hope that you enjoy our presentation and we hope that you find it educational and informative.
This is Xi'an before the pandemic, which occurred in 2020. On the 1st of January 2020, a respiratory virus, also known as coronavirus or COVID-19, caused a dynamic shift across the world. Now the year is 2025. The Communist Party of Xi'an has implemented strict laws to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 virus killed 50% of the male population between the ages of 45 to 65, sending the general population down by 358 million to 1 billion. This created rebellion in 13 of the 22 provinces and a great disruption in the economic health of the nation. As a result of the pandemic, resources were depleted, which resulted in warring fractions between Cantonese and Mandarin speakers. Part of the Great Wall was damaged as a result of the conflict. The government, in an effort to create peace, imposed a one-culture law which allowed all parties to follow same religion and tradition. As mentioned earlier, the government, in an attempt to unite the people of Xi'an, decided to create a one culture where the different ethnic groups and religions will practice one religion. This was agreed by the warring fractions such as the Hans and the Mongols. The Naki and the Zhuang tribes disagreed initially, but later accepted the change. 4 of the 5 officially recognized religions, Buddhism, Taoism, Islam, and Catholics, also agreed with the exception of the Protestants. Each passing day, the level of secrecy increased in Xi'an. What was once a very prosperous country turned into an impoverished state. More and more mandatory lockdowns and curfew was implemented. Cargo vessels coming into Xi'an Sea was attacked by pirates because of food shortage. The pandemic caused Xi'an economy to get tremendously weak. Ration cards program was implemented to distribute food among citizens. Additionally, the GDP of $11,937 billion fell by 2/3 due to the high death rate of males. School is now between the ages of 5 to 13 years, and students are selected to work in factories and different industries according to their abilities. Job losses increased at an alarming rate, and many persons depended on the state for food as a result. Additionally, there was an increase in crime and lawlessness, and as a result, the state recruited able-bodied persons to carry out protective services. The protective services consist mainly of men between the ages of 15 to 40. Xi'an's policy of 9-year compulsory education was abandoned. As mentioned earlier, due to the high level of job losses and the high death rate in males, the Xi'an government implemented legislation which allows for compulsory schooling to be between the ages of 5 to 13 years. The previous law, which stipulates all children of school age must receive a 9-year education, no longer applies. As a consequence, the Communist administration, which consists of 75% women, manage these institutions. Because women have to work, their children must be supervised by the state. They are supervised at school during the day and at night special camps. However, many children are still left unsupervised and idling on the streets because there are not sufficient schools and camps to manage the children. The government aims to rectify this within the next 5 years. COVID-19 vaccine was administered in 2023 and became mandatory in 2024. Many fractions initially opposed to the mandatory vaccination but subsequently agreed. However, there still exist rebel fractions who is against the vaccination and the whole communist administration. If they are caught, they are tried for treason and sentenced to death.
Now that you have been introduced to the structure of our country here in Xi'an in relation to our religion, economy, language and culture, our health sector and education, I would now like to introduce you to the norms and values of our society. In relation to our working culture, we have a very unique one, which we refer to as the 996 working culture. By this, we work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 6 days a week, which is an average of 72 hours per work week. And this is done to ensure a high level of productivity and to outdo our competitors. With this method, we contribute a great lot to the economy within our society. In relation to our family structure, the men and the elders are well respected, and our family is that of a hierarchical structure. And the men are seen as the main breadwinners within our society. They are the ones going out and coming back and providing for their families, while the women are more on the caregiving and supportive side. And in relation to friendship, we have very small circles, and this is so not only because we are secretive by nature, but this is done in an effort to know exactly who we can trust and depend on in any time of need. We are a society that is supportive and protective of our members, and we sacrifice some of our personal views and opinions. With the impact of the COVID-19 virus in 2020, we had a high level of job losses, joblessness, and this took a great toll on the economy because we did not have any finances coming in as it used to. Also, because as mentioned before, the men were the main breadwinners, we had a high death rate among our men between the ages of 44 to 65 years. With this, it now forced the women with the task of being responsible for supporting and providing for their families. In 2025, we now have a vaccine where we are able to control the COVID-19 virus, and with this, we can only hope that we can have some resemblance again of normality within the society and have an increase within our economic sector and bring back the society to one which we cherish and love so dearly.
Hi, my name is Deanicia Dedier, and I will be doing the descriptive aspect of this group presentation, a brief synopsis of our person that we created. His name is Xi'an. He's in his late 40s, close to 50. He is married. He is very family oriented. He has 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl between the ages of 8 to 16. They also they are considered to live a average lifestyle, and they are middle class. However, they do not own a car. Han is also owner of a small but successful and popular fashion and retail store. Before COVID-19, Han's typical day would begin at 6, where he gets up to prepare for work. He lives close to the train station, about 5 minutes. So once he leaves home by 7, he would reach there by 7:05. Takes him at least 20 to 25 minutes to reach to work, so let's say 6:30 for the latest he's there. The store opens at 8, so he will go straight to his office and just prepare, have his breakfast if he didn't have any at home, which is rare, and just prepare for the day ahead. Around 12 to 1 is when he would take his lunch. On most days his wife would prepare lunch for him, or he would go to the tea shop, which is at least 10 minutes away from the store. Most days his wife will pack the lunch, so after he finishes his lunch, he would go downstairs and walk the ground floor, interact with customers, help his employees satisfy and deal with the customers when it's really busy, and sometimes he would just go downstairs just to observe and let his employees know what to improve on, what he likes, that he likes what he's seeing, continue the good work. Once he's satisfied with that, he goes back upstairs to finish making decisions for the business regarding accounts, payments, marketing, distribution, that sort of thing. He would leave office by 4, and every afternoon he would buy a flower for his wife, and this would be his token of appreciation or love for her. He reaches home by 5. Once he reaches home, he greets his wife, gives her the flower, goes upstairs, changes his clothes, come back down and help her to prepare for dinner for him and his family. They would all sit at the table around 6 o'clock for dinner, interacting, talking about how was their day, what they did, and once they finish having dinner, they would all gather around to play a traditional Xi'an game by the name of Mahjong. This game has been around for centuries, and this is a game of skill, strategy, calculation, and it involves a degree of chance. This game is played with a set of 144 tiles based on traditional Xi'an characters and symbols. After him and his family play this game, they would all gather around and say their prayers and go to bed to prepare for the next day. However, post COVID-19, Han had to adapt to a few changes. For instance, he had to close his business as he couldn't afford to keep it open during the 5 years as it is now, the year 2025. So he is now working for someone else in a popular shoe company in Xi'an in the accounts department. In addition to this, the vaccine has been released at least 3 months now. However, there are a few people who are resisting taking the vaccine. Businesses were given go ahead to operate at a 50 to 75%, as well as substations, train stations. They are only limited to a certain amount of people who can travel. So now Han has to leave home earlier, so instead of 7, he would leave home at least 6:45 latest. So another change is that before he gets to go into the train, he has to go through at least 2 to 3 different points where he will have to sanitize and get his temperature taken. This also applies to when he's going to his new job. At his new job now, he has to walk through at the contamination chamber, which releases a mist to sanitize his clothes, as he would have been on the public transportation train. Yeah, and on his desk, he also has his own personal sanitizing equipment to keep himself safe. Although there are people who are resisting the vaccine, he still chooses to wear a mask to keep himself safe as well as his family, because no one really knows if they are passing by somebody who didn't take the vaccine. In addition to this, now not every day he can afford to buy the token of appreciation for his family, for his wife, because funds are low. Also, a lot of the festivals that she celebrated are no longer public. For example, the Cantonese New Year, which was once a public festival, is no longer so. Only those who can afford to take part in all the activities that come with the festival will do so. However, Han is not one of those lucky few. His family cannot partake in the cultural way, as they do not have the funds to get the clothes as well as the means. So more or less, Han and his family just takes part in the prayers part of the festival. The only thing that remained the same for Han and his family was the game Mahjong, the traditional game. This was the only thing in their life that remained stagnant throughout the 5 years before COVID-19 and after COVID-19, with the vaccine being released. Him and his family still managed to play the traditional game every afternoon together before they all go to bed. Han is just one of the millions of people in Xi'an who was forced to adapt to the new changes post-COVID-19.
Hello, my name is Imran Hosein, and I will be speaking about the psychological aspect of our original culture. As mentioned previously, Xi'an is a communist state. This poses significant psychological influence over its citizens and visitors. In Xi'an, anxiety-based disorders as well as mood disorders are on an all-time rise. Pre-COVID, when the economy was well and flourishing, business owners and typically male professionals between the ages of 45 to 60 face significant stress coping disorders, as well as the inability to properly reintegrate back into their family lives. In Han Yukimura's case, his family valued tradition and folk practices over the typical modern detachment from family. Typically, however, families tend to be reserved and private, staying in their own rooms and staying within their own lifestyles during the day. Post-COVID, however, as have been discussed previously, during that 5-year span, the economy has been hit severely. Many people have faced layoffs, many people have been fired, businesses have closed, and the all-time psychological profile of the nation has fallen. In Han Yukimura's case, he has been assigned as an accounting administrative assistant in a firm. This fall from grace is what contributed to his growing anxiety that he may not be able to take care of his family as he once has been able to do before. Also, there is a high rate of suicide among males ages 40 to 60. This demographic tends to be made up by young government officials and men in places of power. Because the financial district has been hit so badly, these professionals, typically stockbrokers, hedge fund managers, and bankers, have all suffered financially, and as a result, their social status and socio-economic classing has also been hit, leading to the development of mood disorders and suicidal tendencies, which has contributed to the overall statistic of male pattern suicide. Also, a major issue in Xi'an is the way that we deal with issues such as racism, prejudice, and discrimination in our nation. Prior to COVID-19, there was almost no protests, no strikes, no public outcry from citizens, as there was a constant fear of the government. This often resulted in a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness, which, as we know, is a determining factor of major depressive disorder. Post-COVID-19, however, in lockdown, there has been a significant rise in using Western social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and much more messaging forums on the internet. Now, however, even though there is still no public display of dealing with an issue such as when COVID-19 patients were ripped away from their loved ones and placed into isolation camps under the banner of being treated by the state, instead of not saying anything about it, post-COVID-19, teens and young individuals have all flocked towards their technological advantage and started posting these facts online. As a result, the government have now been held accountable by outside forces such as the United Nations and Geneva Conventions. Though this may seem like a political standpoint, it has, however, benefited the citizens of Xi'an. They have begun restoring their feelings of hope, levels of happiness have begun to rise again, as well as the feeling of safety and security in the family has also been on the increase, resulting in stronger bonds and stronger connections not only at home but at the workplace as well. Thank you, Miss, for your time. We hope that we have presented to the best of our ability, and we hope that you found it both entertaining and informative. Thank you once again. This is from the team of Xi'an. Thank you.